Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and the city in which we live. Guide us this afternoon as we make our decisions. In Christ's name, amen.
Amen.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is the March 12th, 2024 regular meeting of the Newnan City Council. I've got the minutes from the meeting of February 27th. For us.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. We adopt the minutes as presented. Any discussion? All those favored indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. The next item, several appointments to boards and commissions. We start out with the Christmas Commission, Mr. Thompson.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Edie Eldridge to
Second.
the Christmas Commission.
Motion is second. We appoint Ms. Edie Eldridge to the Christmas Commission. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The
Thank you,
next, Mr. Gion.
Next meeting, please.
All right, thanks. Ms. Jenkins.
Next meeting, please.
All right, thank you. And we go into the Cultural Arts Commission. Ms. Jenkins.
Next meeting.
Thank you. Keep Newnan Beautiful, Mr. DeBose.
Yes, I'd like to appoint Phyllis Graham.
Second.
All right. Motion and a second. We appoint Ms. Phyllis Graham to the Keep Newnan Beautiful Commission. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next is the Parks Commission, Mr. Gion.
Next meeting, please.
Thank you. The next is also Mr. Gion, Tree
Next
Commission.
meeting, please.
Thank you. The next three are the Youth Activities Commission. The first one is Mr. Critco.
I'd like to reappoint Mr. Matt Markham, please.
All right.
Second.
Motion and a second. We reappoint Matt Markham to the Youth Activities Commission. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next, Mr. DeBose.
Next meeting, please.
All right, thank you. And the next, Mr. DeBose.
Next meeting, please.
All right, thank you. Okay, the next item on our agenda under boards, if you'll recall, last meeting, there was a suggestion that we discuss and possibly amend the resolution establishing the Bicentennial Committee and the subsequent appointments. Mr. Guillaume, Mayor Pro Tem Guillaume, you brought that issue to us. Are there any comments or anything from council, Mr. DeBose?
Yes. This council has had a long history of committees and citizens serving on the committees. And I think that's very important to consider in this matter. The committee process is important. The 14 members on this committee are important because it's got many things to do. And we only have a bicentennial celebration every 200 years. So it's not going to be hardly anything to talk about. But I just think it's real important that we have committees and appointees from every section of the city, and that would be able to take place in this. And there are several things that they're going to do. It's just not one thing.
I agree with you. I think the workload in and of itself necessitates the 14 people.
Yes,
I think by the
because
time
they
they realize
What they
scope
got
of
into.
this, and it's not just a one-day event, it's going to be spread over a year, maybe a year and a half, culminating in the one-day event.
And I'll give you a good example. The two people I've asked to do it already. One has been on Baldwin Court in Avery Park, the northern post place in the city, and the other has been on West Broad Street, right downtown. And I think you need to spread them out and get them in there, that let them different. They have different interests too.
All right. Mr. Young?
Well, I have no problem with that.
Okay.
No, so do you want me to withdraw it, or what do you, how do you want to handle
Well, I
it?
just think there's no action needed if we don't want to amend the motion.
No,
amend the
that's
ordinance,
fine.
so just take no action and move into the appointment process.
Yeah.
If those of us who have our appointees ready today, if we'll start.
Yes,
with
okay.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have anybody ready, but
Okay. All right. Ms. Jenkins?
I don't yet.
All right. Mr. Greco?
Neither do I.
All right.
I do. I have Dr. Ronnie Oliver. He lives on Baldwin Court. And the other is Jenny Horn. Who lives on West Broad?
I'll accept a motion. That's a motion? Is there a
Yes.
second to those?
Second.
All right, a motion to second on those two individuals. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Mr. Thompson.
Next meeting.
All right, thank you. I have my two today, one Danny Beck, and then Jennifer Morrison.
Second.
Motion second to appoint Danny Beck and Jennifer Morrison to the Bicentennial Committee. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much. Next to the next item.
Wait a minute, please, if
Yeah,
you
sure.
would. I'd just like to thank Paul for understanding on that, and it's not gonna be for every committee.
Yeah, I mean, my only thing was, obviously because we were having difficulty, but upon further review, it's not a problem. I think it'd be great. Perfect.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. Mr. Phillips, anything today? I don't have anything today. Under new business, I'm going to open a public hearing. This is an application for alcohol beverage license, BAF Enterprising, doing business as Frazier's at Jackson. This is 227 Jackson Street. The reason for this is a new business, and I'm opening the public hearing at this time. Does anyone like to come forward to speak to this issue? Seeing no one come forward, I'm going to close the public hearing at this time, ask if everything is in order. It is, so I'll ask for a motion on the application.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, we approve the application as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, thank you. The next is consideration of a resolution to authorize an interfund loan from the general fund to unassigned fund balance for the SPLOST 2025, commonly known as advanced funding.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, City
Ms.
Council,
Kelson.
good afternoon. We have two attachments to your agenda as it relates to this particular item. First, I would draw your attention to the SPLOST schedule of projects. We did review this, as you'll recall, at the retreat. You will note that the link trailhead has been moved to calendar year 25 for project work. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. One of the things that we talked about during the retreat is funding. You'll notice that there are 4 park projects slated here, plus the trailhead. We also have paving here, heavy equipment purchases, and also some network purchases. So there's a vast amount of funding that will be needed. The SPLOST proceeds will actually not start coming into the city until February of 25. So if we want to get this work done, we're going to have to find some funding to do that. One of the things that you asked staff to do was go back and do a cash modeling exercise, and so staff has prepared that. We think that at maximum, really, we'll need about $3 million through the course of the project to loan from the general fund balance, and we have those funds available. You did talk about the potential bonding, but we're kind of wanting to make sure of what that number was to see if we could borrow that from our own funds. So what we have done is prepare a resolution for your consideration to loan those dollars when necessary, and we will not exceed that $3 million mark throughout the course of the project. Or again, this will be repaid back to the general fund, and probably through the course of the 6 years. You know, the SPLOST projects will span from 2025 to 2030. So as we phase through the projects over the course of the last couple of years, those monies will start getting repaid back into the general fund. So staff would recommend that you move forward with that resolution. I would make one additional comment, as we do have some existing SPLOST funds that will help us with the design work and engineering in 24. So we do have that funding available so that we can go ahead and get those projects started, ramped up, so that we can start some construction in 25 to deliver the projects.
All right, any
And
questions?
I'll be glad to answer any questions.
I have a question, but go ahead, Jim.
No, I'm sorry.
I was going to ask, is the last part you mentioned about the funds available today to start, is that part of this resolution, or does that need a motion itself?
No,
That was
sir.
just information, okay.
Yes, sir.
Just want to make clear for my own personal is that this is the 3 million is, it's not over and above, but it is capped at 3.
Captain,
And then secondly, you mentioned about extending it out and repaying this $3 million over the course of the life of the SPOS with, I'm assuming with the option that we could pay it back sooner should the funds, we would want to pay it back sooner. I just need clarity on that.
Well, we're gonna have to, watch as projects come and
Right.
capital investments come that are slated throughout this course. So we'll just be mindful. We think 3 million is probably the worst case scenario as we plotted this out in a modeling exercise.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So I have
Any
a quick question.
questions,
Yes, sir. So basically, looking at like the repayment schedule, hopefully no later than 2030, we'll repay that. And also, what does that, when we loan that 3 million, say we take the 3 million out right now, what would that leave our fund balance at?
Ups and down.
We're setting now, with unassigned fund balances probably in the $21 million range. Now you gotta remember, we have the 50% policy, so with approximately, a $35 million budget, you start getting into, 17.5 million per year policy is restricted from being used. So yeah, we don't have a huge gap of difference between what you can spend, what you can't spend unless you were to address the 50% policy.
Okay.
Now, our total fund balance is certainly larger than that, but they're in different categories. I'm
Correct.
just referring to what we typically call the unassigned fund balance.
Yep, exactly. Okay, I was just curious how close that was gonna put us to the 50, so thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion on this?
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second, we adopt the resolution as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried, thank you. The next is a consideration to add LaGrange Street to the list of streets to be repaired in 2024 and authorize staff to solicit requests for proposals for needed repairs. Mr. John, how are you today?
Doing good,
I
Mr.
mean,
Mayor,
Mr.
Council, hope y'all
Ray, how are
doing
you
well.
today? Good.
I would like to add LaGrange Street to those list of streets that we want to get repaired, and, again, request, let you authorize staff to put RFP out, and let's see what it's going to cost for those repairs.
You have a question?
Yes. Are you gonna start like at LaGrange Street Bridge and go all the way out to the city limits?
All the way to the city limits, yes,
I
sir.
was riding bikes Sunday on there, and I noticed how many holes are outlined, and I think no street needs repair worse than LaGrange right now in some ways, because it's a heavily trafficked with school. So when do you think they would actually get on the list and do that?
We want to have this done during summer break for the school. We don't want to impact the school traffic at all, so that is the plan.
Okay?
So by then, the heavy construction traffic from the construction project will be done?
I don't know if the school will be 100% done, but they're winding down. I mean, they're supposed to move their trailers out June,
Yeah, the first, right after
yeah,
school's, the
June
week, day after
something
school's
is
over.
what I've been told.
Yeah, well, I mean, school starts August 1st,
Yes.
so, yeah,
That's gonna be my question,
Yeah.
it's about the heavy equipment at the school.
right. I just don't want to see heavy equipment back on the street once we've done the repaving.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I had another question is, it kind of ties into the bicentennial celebration is, are we gonna prioritize roads and streets to coincide with the downtown area so that they look kind of good during the bicentennial celebration, kind of, I don't know how hard that would be to make sure that our roads downtown aren't, so they look good.
Yeah, we definitely can look at that, but I don't want to say yes to that
Yeah.
now because.
No, but something to look forward to in the future,
evaluate.
kind of like
Absolutely.
prioritizing and planning, so, all right, thank you.
All right?
And I've got one more question. We've had a series of emails about another road, since we're talking about adding one to the list. Have you had a chance to look at that?
Yeah, what you're
think it's
referring
Kate's.
to, I believe, is called Kate's Alley, is that correct?
Yes.
For those of you that may not know where Kate's Alley is located, you go down Salvitti to Robinson. Basically, if you were to go straight across, it turns into Kate's Alley. Kate's Alley has been it's very, very narrow. It basically looks like a driveway. It never has been constructed to the standards of a typical city street. It looks like there's been a couple of patches of asphalt that was put on, dirt. There's, I think, 2 residents that are served off of Kate's Alley. Certainly don't have any issue doing it. We have talked about, we don't really know what method to utilize, because I can't put a, you know, a full paving piece in there. The road's so small. So whether the methodology is some different overlay, do we rebuild the structure, do we go back with a concrete driveway? I don't know. I mean, obviously, it's in bad shape, but it's certainly not just go turn C.W. Matthews loose in there to fix it. It's a little bit different.
Okay, because this throws us back to another thing from the retreat, which are those smaller streets that have gone unmaintained.
Well, yeah, I can think of a couple of those.
Yeah.
You know, I think one thing that we certainly have to be cautious of, and I know LaGrange Street here, the request today was certainly pressing because of the visibility that it gets. But I also know that once we've started this paving project, we, and I'm sure you are as well, are getting calls about, why not my street, why not my street? I do think we got to be careful. We just can't add every street to the list when someone calls, correct? We do have to have a segmented plan and approach. Cates Alley is a very small street.
So it's Jones
Probably not
Alley.
overly expensive once we figure out the technique to fix it. I mean, if this body, you know, sees fit, we certainly go ahead and add it to the list and try to get it done during the cycle.
I would like to see you go back and come up with that small streets list that would require a different methodology than what you're used to, and put a price on it and bring it back to us so that we can address it, because
Would
it's
you mind
clearly
if
not
we-
rising to the level
Yes,
with the
would
other
you mind if we did that, if we identified that small street list, we maybe handle it as completely separate topics similar to what we may be doing?
That's
with-
exactly what I want.
With LaGrange Street separate RFP, because it may be different techniques as to what these big paving companies are using.
That's exactly what I
Okay,
would
very
want,
good,
if
thank
that's what council.
There may be a company out there that specializes in that process,
Yeah, it may-
not C.W.
maybe,
Matthews.
I don't know, we'll see,
Yes.
absolutely.
All right.
Small streets and alleys, basically.
Yep.
Kind of like that alleyway between East Broad and East Washington, and, you know,
Yep.
we've got several of those around. Okay.
Okay, so we do still have this issue before us. Is there a motion?
So
Second.
Motion is second. We approve as presented. Any further discussion?
Quick question, the funding for adding this, where, did I miss that?
I believe it was at the SPOS
Lost
19.
2019.
Was it the
Yes.
SPOS? Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Ms. Kelsey was referring to inside of the new state budget, which certainly was passed. There are additional element dollars that we're going to be applying for. And there's not a match requirement for those element dollars, even though we're way above the match. So likely we'll have additional money, which may be good, because the process that Mr. Norton's talking about here is fixing all of the sunken, what we believe is sunken utility patches, correct?
Correct.
Or utility services. What it could be very, very expensive if we want to go back and just then completely overlay the whole street. So that may be something you may not be aware of as to what Mr. Norton was talking about. Well, he's talking about fixing the patches with this.
That is correct.
Because an overlayment of that whole street. So is this body okay? First step, let's get it fixed, get it patched, let's get it structurally sound, and then maybe come back under a different round to do the overlayment.
So specifically, this motion is to repair.
Correct.
That's
Okay.
what,
Okay.
And it's got more repair needed than most any street, because it's got so many breakthroughs from those big trucks from the tornado.
I know you have a desire, you'd love for it to just, when it's
Okay.
done, to be overlaid. I don't know what that price is gonna be at this point.
So
But aren't there,
I guess the issue I have is that we go in and we do the repair, and then we aren't gonna do the overlay for 2 years, a year, 3 year, whatever it is, and we've gotta go back and repair again to get to the point where we can do the overlay.
We
Is-
hope that's
Does that
not
show
the-
you what I don't know about paving streets?
They do
The
repair and
areas,
fix.
the areas that are failing now, hopefully they've had enough traffic and that's the only areas that have failed. Now, will they be a one or two more areas that show up? That is possible, but not on the scale that we're at now.
Okay.
So even if there are areas that need to be repaired 2-3 years from now, it won't be like
No.
this.
Well, most of the time, it's the base that's failed, and once you fix the base and put some patching over there, and water doesn't get back in there, it's not gonna fail again, right?
Correct. But, and we're gonna bridge those bad areas with concrete, is what we're gonna do, so it's gonna be there.
Mr. Norton, when do you see the whole street being replaced? Yeah, how far out?
Repaved
Yeah,
or?
how far out, yeah.
Well, as Mr. Phillips alluded to, that's gonna be a decision for this body when we want to program that in.
Regardless of funding, when would it need to be taken back down and built back up?
I think it's 2015, the last time it was paved, so we're at, maybe 3 more years
Okay, thank you.
of life left on it.
And that would be like the full depth reclamation and
Just the overlay,
Just the
mill and
overlay.
overlay.
just the overlay.
We can price it the next cycle.
It's gonna take a chunk of the money, right?
If
If you
not
put,
all of
if you
it.
put that in the next cycle, it's gonna take a good chunk of what's in the cycle.
Because part of my concern also on some of these roads, I think Councilman Alexander mentioned was some of them been built up so high. At some point, we've got to go down and do that reclamation.
Well, it's clear that LaGrange Street needs to be repaired.
Yep.
And as much as I'd like the whole thing done, I understand that we don't know, and we can't vote on something we don't know. So,
Let's get,
You have
let's
a
get
motion.
step one done.
that's right. I have a motion in the second for us on this issue. Is there any other question or comment? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next under visitors is a request from Operation Tackle Box and 81 Originals to close Madison Street between Jackson Street and Jefferson Street, March 23rd for the Warriors Bike Show from 12 to 6. Is there a motion on the issue?
So moved.
Second.
Motion second, we approve the request as presented. Any discussion?
I had a quick question. Did I understand on here there's also a run or a walk?
No, sir.
Okay.
This is, we lost one of our local veterans to suicide last month, so we're trying to raise awareness for veteran suicide, and the profits and all the benefits from this bike show will help his family pay for the funeral. So it'll be located straight at RPM, just looking to shut down the road so we can get more motorcycles out.
Okay.
Very good.
All right. Any other questions? Appreciate you doing this. There is a motion and a second. I'll call the question. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
The next item is also a request from RPM to close Madison Street between Jackson Street and Jefferson Street on Saturday, June the 8th, for a fundraiser from 11 to 6. Good afternoon. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion second. Are there questions? We have representatives here. We appreciate your attendance. I'm on the verge of voting. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
so much.
Appreciate it. Okay, we do have an executive session. We also have a 3 o'clock work session. Is anyone in this room here for the 3 o'clock work session? Okay, so what we're going to do is go into executive session, and the 3 o'clock work session will commence a few minutes following that executive session. I'll ask Mayor Pro Tem Guillaume to take us into executive session for a legal issue.
Yes, I move that we not enter into the closed session, that we move into the closed session as allowed by the OCGA 50-44-4, and pursuant to the advice of the city attorney for the purpose of discussing, what are we discussing?
Legal.
Legal. Very good, forgot to get that in there. And that we, in open session, adopt a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor or presiding officer to execute an affidavit to the compliance with OCGA 50-14-4, and that this body ratify the actions of the council taken in closed session and confirm that the subject matters of the closed session were within the exceptions permitted by the open meetings law.
Second.
Motion is second. We go into executive session for legal. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. I'm going to recuse